The Syrian army and Kurdish forces are currently observing a ceasefire that's due to expire in a little over a week. It was brokered by the U.S. after the Syrian army launched an offensive earlier this month, taking back large swathes of territory held by the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF. Now, the Syrian government made the move after deadlock in talks with the Kurds aimed at finalizing an agreement to integrate them into the country and its army. Well, for some insight into all of this, I'm joined on set by Arya Jemo, a Kurdish affairs analyst who is himself a member of Syria's Kurdish community. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
I want to just start with getting your reaction to the events of recent weeks and this big offensive we've seen by the Syrian army.
Yeah, not surprising. Unfortunately, not surprising because my family is from Afrin, that has been invited by this group since 2018. So we know how they operate. We know what we will be facing, especially looking at in a shorter term with the Druze and the Alawites that have been massacred the last year. So the feeling is that we're being forced and pushed to live under. Let us remind the current group that is ruling Syria, HTS, is a branch of Al-Qaeda. So right now we're being forced to live under this regime without any concession agreement that properly protect the different component of the Syrian society, let it be ethnically or religiously. This is not respected. So these minorities are a threat. We've seen it in the past few months.
HTS, that was the group led by Ahmed al-Shara, the current Syrian leader. Although he has disbanded the group, he's pledged to work with Syria's minorities. Do you not trust him, it sounds like?
No, absolutely not. I'm a Syrian minority myself. I'm Kurdish and my religion is Yazidi. We've seen how we've been treated. Our lands have been taken, our homes have been taken, the graves have been destroyed, our temples and so on. So we cannot trust. And you know this image and this fairy tale of the jihadist that was literally the leader of people who were beheading people. That extremists, can you imagine the amount of violence they need to behead someone? How can from one day to another he just wear a tie and a suit and that's it? He just became a humanist and respecting minorities? Absolutely not.
What would it take for him to get you to trust him then? I mean, is there any, as you've said, it's kind of a difficult negotiating point to imagine a deal given that history. What would it take? What's the Kurdish community looking for in making a deal with the Syrian government?
Well, the first thing that the Kurds ask is when they took the power over Syria, they wrote a new constitution. And the Kurds ask at this specific moment, we want to have inclusiveness into the statement of the constitution, let it be for the minorities, for the way it is ruled. But what we got is the same mindset, the centralization of power that Bashar al-Assad put it in place, but with this time a flavor of Sunni jihadism from the HTS. So yeah, this was the first thing. Let us be in the constitution respecting every component of Syria. Let's be in a democratic way, and this has not been the case.
They did recently declare, al-Shara earlier this month declared recognition of Kurdish as one of the national languages, the restoration of citizenship to Kurdish Syrians. Do those gestures mean anything?
They do mean something, but however, these are just written confirmation. There is no real guarantees. I mean, at the same time, you're saying I'm respecting the minorities and so on, but Kobani, one of the cities, actually the one that resisted the most against ISIS in 2015, is under siege for nine days now. At 1 degree Celsius, it is winter over there, there is no electricity, no running water and so on. So at the same time, you're saying, no, I'm respecting them, I want to include them, but at the same time, many of them currently don't have any water or running electricity and living in very harsh conditions, complete embargo and siege. So there's actions and there's speeches. We don't trust the speeches, especially coming from this type of groups. We want concrete guarantees. We want also international presence on the ground to ensure that those jihadist groups, that's what we're dealing against with, are respecting what they're committing to.
I wanted to ask you about international support. I mean, the U.S. has long supported Kurdish forces, although now they are putting their support behind the government. What kind of support have the Kurds been getting from the international community?
So far, we've had support from the US a little bit in terms of mediation, negotiation, and France. There's some efforts by other European countries, but I'd say now most of the work will be around negotiation, but also pressure. Because this group, as I said, as extremist as they are, they only understand the forces. So they don't understand only speeches or condemnation. No, we need to put international pressure, which is done by the Save Kurds Act that is put in place, bipartisan initiative in the US, or yesterday the Dutch parliament that voted to not fund, so they asked a motion to their government to not fund the Damascus unless there is real protection put in place for the minorities, and especially the Kurds. And the French Senate are also going to follow, and the other European countries. So we need pressure on this regime because that's the only language they understand, unfortunately. And this is not the Syria we want.
And so that pressure you're talking about, you want laws enacted that are going to threaten to pull funding from the Syrian government.
Absolutely, especially the funding, labeling the HTS as a jihadist group. I mean, as a terrorist jihadist group, because we are trying to whitewash it. But come on, those past few days, we've seen people being beheaded. We've seen women being killed, people being thrown from buildings, exactly like ISIS. We've seen video and propaganda of ISIS raising again. So we cannot live under such society.
You're talking about just in the past few weeks?
Days, yeah, a few weeks even, started from Aleppo, unfortunately. And we've seen these images against the Alawite. We've seen these images against the Druze, and this is absolutely not normal.
Is there a sense of abandonment by the U.S. and allies that used to, fully support the Kurdish forces?
Absolutely, and the abandonment is deeper. The abandonment is not only about the Kurds, it's about the moral values that govern this world and the U.S. I mean, you're supporting Al-Qaeda that is literally beheading people. We've seen it a couple of years ago, a couple of months ago, and a couple of days ago. How can the West support this kind of group and ideology? So, of course, there is an abandonment of an ally, of the people who fought against ISIS, but abandonment of human values. And I think this is much deeper because it reflects the society we're living in and the society our kids and so on will live in. Not only there, but here, because this is decided here. So, yeah.
The U.S. might say that they want stability in Syria and that supporting the current government is the best way to do that and to keep them kind of as a counterweight to Iran. What do you make of that sort of view of things?
No, they don't want to necessarily support stability. They want to support their interest, and their interest is having a partner on the ground that push out the influence from Russia and push out the influence from Iran, which is what is being done so far. They want to have the economical payback with the exploitation of the petrol, of the Syrian petrol, and also maybe contracts for rebuilding the country. The French has taken also the control over the different ports of the country. So it's a matter of who is getting what from the Syrian, no matter who's the government, what they're going to do. And fortunately, there's still the parliamentaries that has their words and saying, hey, what is our government doing in terms of national interest, let it be for the US, France, Europe? It's still opposite to the values that our countries are representing.
There were some reports that the Kurdish SDF had maybe made a deal with the Syrian government, that they'd reached, a broader deal. Do you know anything about that?
Well, yes, there have been a couple of deals, but the problem with deals is the same as speeches, or is the same as the paper that Ahmed al-Ashar Jalani signed, which guarantees the rights of the Kurds and so on. These are only papers. Again, those different groups are extremist. We cannot trust them on the implementation of this unless we put it by force. And these are only rumors so far. There will be communication maybe in 24, 48 hours. What we want is just to live in peace. That's the main thing. But this peace will be only enforced, unfortunately, by force, not by paper.
Long term, the Kurds want to live in peace. Do they also want their own state? I mean, is that sort of the longer term goal here? Or can you imagine being a part of sort of a united Syria?
This could be as well. In the current state of Syria, there's no more Syria anymore. The different people living in Syria cannot live together anymore, especially regarding the propaganda and the hatred that have been fueled into these past few days. Everyone hates each other in Syria. So do we want to live in such Syria ruled by Al-Qaeda? No, rather self-ruled ourselves and living by our own. Because this, right now, we don't see any prospect unless there is good negotiation, which we hope for. But we'll see how it goes.
This ceasefire is set to expire. It was a 15-day ceasefire. It's due to expire in a little over a week. What happens after that?
Well, it will be the big question. I think the more time we're gaining, the more international pressure we're putting as well, the more focus also we're putting on the question and what is happening over there. So we have different parliament, European Parliament, that are reacting. So the more reactions we have, the more secure these minorities will be, and including the Kurds. Because, wait, it's not only about the Kurds. Over there's a lot of Christians, there's a lot of Armenians, and so on. There's other minorities that seek refuge towards the Kurds because they were the only one fighting ISIS. So the more pressure we have to protect these groups, the better the negotiation will be in the upcoming weeks.
Is there coordination going on between Syria's various minority groups, the Alawites, the Kurds?
Absolutely, and very deep, because we know what is coming. The Europe and the West can act blind or a bit delayed, but between the Druze, the Alawite, the Christian, and the Kurds, we're speaking. Let it be in Syria, let it be here in France or in the US, we're all aligned in the same position. We do not trust these groups to rule Syria. It is dangerous for us. It is dangerous for the world values that I hope we still have. So, yeah.
Given that, I'm just curious to go back to December 2024 and the fall of Assad. What were your feelings as that happened and al-Shura took over?
Well, two feelings. First of all, happy, because let's remind the people that Bashar al-Assad was a monster. He killed his own people and at a crazy scale. But at the same time, it's the Jolani. So at first you're witnessing this and asking yourself, oh, wow, okay, it's going away. Oh, that guy is taking over now. And you're like, yeah, it's not going to last long. And then suddenly you see the West shaking hand, whitewashing, hey, we're going to give you 1 billion over there, 1 billion over there. And you're just wondering, like, 15 years of Syrian civil war to end up with an Al-Qaeda leader at the power of Syria. So, yeah.
You paint a distressing picture of, we will hope that those negotiations bear fruit. Arya Jemo, thank you again so much for coming to speak with us today. That's Arya Jemo, a Kurdish affairs analyst who is himself a member of Syria's Kurdish community. We're going to have to leave it there for this edition. Thanks for watching and stay with us if you can. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more news.